Hi there, everyone. Welcome to The Daily Gardener. I'm your host, Jennifer Ebling. It's August 2nd. Right about now, you might be thinking about doing a little garden cleanup in preparation for fall. One of the questions I get from gardeners this time of year has to do with whether or not to let some of your plants go to seed. After spending most of the summer deadheading and eliminating all of the brown stuff on our foliage, it can be tough to let things go to seed. But there are many benefits to letting some of the plants in your garden bolt in all their glory. First, there is tremendous ornamental value that extends into winter. Second, the seeds benefit native bees and other creatures. Thirdly, saving seeds from the garden saves you money because it eliminates the need to buy seed next year. When it comes to saving seeds, the main thing is to allow nature to do most of the drying for you. Your seeds will have a much higher success rate if you let them dry as much as possible before you collect them. And finally, allowing plants to go to seed means that you will have less to plant in subsequent seasons thanks to volunteers. Each year, my garden is blessed with Queen Anne's lace, Indian paintbrush, angelica, Columbine, forget-me-nots, lettuce, dill, foxglove, Valerian, lovage and beets, all planted by Mother Nature and all perfectly placed and happy as a result. Here's today's brevities. It's the anniversary of the death of the landscape and portrait painter Thomas Gainsborough, who died on this day in 1788. Gainsborough is known for his painting of the Blue Boy. Today, you can visit Gainsborough's house in Suffolk. There is a garden there with a spectacular mulberry tree dating back to the early 1600s during the reign of James I, who encouraged the planting of mulberries in order to establish a silk industry. Unfortunately, the king and his advisors lacked the knowledge about mulberries. There are two kinds of trees. The white mulberry feeds the silkworms, and the black mulberry supplies the fruit. Gainsborough's mulberry, as well as every other mulberry cultivated in England at that time, was the black mulberry. Although England never successfully became known for silkworms, the craft of silk weaving became firmly rooted. And today, in 1820, the first potatoes were planted in Hawaii. Turns out the American brig, the Thaddeus, brought more than the first missionaries to the island. And on this day in 1938, the Belvedere Daily Republican published a small article about a tree named for Benjamin Franklin. Here's what it said. About 200 years ago, John Bartram discovered a strange flowering tree in a Georgia forest and named it Franklinia in honor of his fellow Philadelphian, Benjamin Franklin. And it's the anniversary of the death of the poet Wallace Stevens, who died on this day in 1955. Stevens said, "Death is the mother of beauty. Only the perishable can be beautiful," which is why we are unmoved by artificial flowers. Stevens was one of the most skilled poets of the 20th century. By day, Stevens worked at Hartford Insurance Company, where he became vice president, and by night, he was a poet. It was an unusual combination. The park across from his house was one of his favorite places. Elizabeth Park is huge, covering 100 acres with formal gardens, meadows, lawns, greenhouses, and a pond. Stevens wrote the following poems about Elizabeth Park: Vacancy in the Park, The Plain Sense of Things, and Nuns Painting Water Lilies. By 1950, Stevens was awarded the Pulitzer Prize and the National Book Award for his poetry. And here's a little-known fact. He once started a fist fight with Ernest Hemingway in Key West. For today's Unearthed Words, it's the birthday of the Victorian poet William Watson, who was born on this day in 1858. Here's a poem by William Watson. It's simply called 3 Flowers. I made a little song about the rose and sang it for the rose to hear, nor ever marked until the music's close a lily that was listening near. The red, red rose flushed redder with delight, and like a queen her head she raised. The white, white lily blanched a paler white for anger that she was not praised. Turning, I left the rose unto her pride, the lily to her enviousness, and soon upon the grassy ground espied a daisy all companionless. Doubtless no flattered flower is this, I deemed, and not so graciously it grew. A rose or lily, but methought it seemed more thankful for the sun and dew. Dear love, my sweet small flower, that grewst among the grass, from all the flowers apart, forgive me that I gave the rose my song, ere thou, the daisy, hadst my heart. Today's book recommendation is The Cook and the Gardener, a year of recipes and writings for the French countryside by Amanda Hesser. This award-winning book offers the perfect blend of cookbook paired with garden stories, and it allows you to live vicariously through Hesser in Burgundy, France. Each chapter covers a month. The book can be read one season at a time. Each season offers a recipe for stock, and there's a lovely recipe for pumpkin soup, and there are wonderful tips that gardeners will appreciate as well. For instance, Hesser learned not to pick cabbages before a frost because frost enhances the flavor. For today's garden chore, take some slips of mint. Cut your mint with a sharp knife below a joint, take off the lower leaves, and then put it in a glass of water. It'll take a week or 2 for the roots to form, but don't change the water. Go ahead and add more if you need to, but this is one of the simplest ways to propagate mint, and it works for many other herbs in the garden. Finally, here's something sweet to revive the little botanic spark in your heart. August 3rd, tomorrow, is Garden Day at Longwood, and there are 2 keynote presentations offered by Matt Ross, who is the Director of Continuing Education there. And I love the titles of his talks. The first one is called Go Green, Go White, Get Variegated. And the second one is called Hidden Gems, the best gardens in America you've never heard of. In addition, there are 9 breakout sessions to choose from. So if you live near Longwood, please go on my behalf and then tell me all about it. It sounds fantastic. Thanks for listening to The Daily Gardener, and remember, for a happy, healthy life, garden every day. The Daily Gardener is produced weekdays in lovely Maple Grove, Minnesota. You can find complete show notes over at thedailygardener.org, and be sure to share the show with your garden friends. You can find The Daily Gardener on all your favorite social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Pinterest, and of course, Facebook. While you're over at Facebook, don't forget to join the Daily Gardener community. Just search for these 3 words, Daily Gardener Community. The group will pop right up, and then request to join. Finally, I want to thank my team at Podfly Productions, where my fabulous editor is Eric Begay. Have a great weekend in the garden, and we'll see you on Monday.